Ron Jeremy, The Rainbow, and the Wages of Sin. Let's talk about the kind of human being who would consider it a viable career option to perform the most intimate of sexual acts in front of the camera for all the world to see. What kind of human being would be open, willing, and eager to sell their sexuality as a commodity? For all intents and purposes, trafficking themselves. Quite obviously, this would be a person who had no boundaries. When a person has no boundaries, there are no boundaries. I maintain, and this is merely my opinion, like everything else I discuss here on my channel, emotionally healthy and self-respecting people with healthy boundaries do not go into porn. Yes, there are intelligent people who will strip, exotic dance, or do porn to earn enough money to put themselves through college. That doesn't mean they are making a healthy choice. That just means that these are damaged people, industrious enough to seek to better themselves. This choice that was right for them was right for them because this is the frequency at which they were already vibrating. Now, what kind of boundary-less person would be so likable and so enrolling of a sexual performing seal that they manage to transcend the porn ghetto and become an across-the-board showbiz icon? What is the cumulative effect on a person from decades of debauchery and exploitation? Making the assumption that the person is at very least somewhat damaged to begin with. Ron Jeremy is sitting in a cell as I write this, facing a potential 200+ year sentence if convicted. We used to see him at the Rainbow Bar, where he was a regular. Many of the people pressing charges against Ron claim they were victimized by him at this very establishment. Let's talk about the Rainbow Bar. People of a certain age might recall a comedian named Sam Kinison. He made a comedy special in the 80s where one of his routines stated, and I paraphrase, "If you want to meet a woman who is batshit crazy and will ruin your life, there is no better place to find her than at the Rainbow Bar." Of course, this special was taped at the Roxy, and the Rainbow was right next door, but still, the Rainbow had a reputation. The Rainbow was a 2-story Italian restaurant located on Sunset Boulevard, right across from the 9000 building, which used to be the Playboy building. I say was because it may no longer exist since the pandemic. Don't get me started on the pandemic. In the 7 years since we last ate there, the chef passed away, and then the owner. The Rainbow served up excellent Italian food. There were 3 bars. There was a performance space up on the 2nd floor. The dining experience there was marvelously old school. The place may be a thing of the past. It already was a shrine to the past. The dining room was literally stuffed with rock and metal memorabilia, authentically, not like a Hard Rock cafe. Guns N' Roses filmed a video there. First-timers would squeal with glee when they recognized the Guns N' Roses booth. Being on the Sunset Strip, the Rainbow catered to 3 types of clientele: those who live in the area, those who work or worked in the area, and those who frequent the area. We actually lived right down the street. I was still living under the delusion that I was supposed to be a rock star. The best time to go to the Rainbow was around 4 in the afternoon for an early bird kind of dinner. The place would be empty. We could get a seat on the patio where we were allowed to smoke even after the laws were passed. in the evening, the place turned into a club where there was a cover charge and folks waited in line to get in. LA being an industry town and being an industry watering hole, the Rainbow attracted rock musicians, their hangers-on, underworld types, and industry types from any and all Hollywood industries. We saw Ron Perlman there and Bill Maher in the dining room waiting for a table. There were rock stars and groupies aplenty, scantily clad hoochie mamas reeking of desperation. The kind of women who would gladly let you grab them by the pussy. Yes, Karen, these women do exist in clusters in places such as the Rainbow Bar. It was a place where you could do pretty much anything you wanted. We observed a woman being roofied, at least that's what it looked like in retrospect. We saw her pass out and then watched as the two men she was with picked her up like a sack of potatoes and carried her away. It all happened very fast, and we don't know if she maybe just had too much to drink or if those men were friends of hers or not. But if someone was being roofied, that's what it would look like. Basically, the Rainbow was a sleazy place with good food and a nice ambiance. Now that I've set the scene for you, insert, pun intended, Ron Jeremy into the mix. This is the place where he liked to hang out. This was the place where he felt at home. He wasn't your basic porn star, which is to say, he wasn't a dumb but hung Dirk Diggler type. He was bright and witty. He played piano, and well. Whenever we saw him, he was always cordial and very gracious with his fans. The female fans often, and I repeat often, requested that he autograph their breasts. Now, of course, that did not give him license to grab the breasts of women who didn't clearly grant permission, nor to force himself upon anyone in any way. But what would you expect from a dirty old man who was a professional dirty old man? The numero uno professional dirty old man. What would a soul look like after decades of debasement and degeneracy? How could one not be utterly twisted and malformed? And during the span of his career, the industry changed and he aged out. So what next for the aged and boundaryless sexual icon? Of course, it's easy to say that he shouldn't have been sexually abusing people. But consider this. If it was his job for years to penetrate women, and of course, it's always the very best and the most virile performing seals who get the most work and the most fame, wouldn't it stand to reason that this sexual acting out is just the reflexive and compulsive end result of years of conditioning? In other words, if this is what you do, and your entire career and image and ego and self-worth are all bound up with this thing that you were encouraged to do and paid to do and celebrated for, then how in the world are you expected to just stop? And how do you wrap your brain around how this is no longer okay for you to do when this is who you are? It's one thing to know intellectually that something is wrong and inappropriate, but that doesn't do a damn thing to stop the repetition compulsion, because it is a compulsion. When human trafficking, sex trafficking, and especially child sex trafficking continue to be an enormous issue all around the world, it looks to me, and again, just my opinion, that Ron Jeremy, like Harvey Weinstein, was thrown under the bus. Yes, Harvey was indeed a monster, and his casting couch was truly despicable. He eventually got what he deserved. Ron Jeremy, on the other hand, seems to me a tragic victim of his industry, used by the sleaze merchants, then chewed up and spat out. Pornography is disgusting, and Ron Jeremy has reaped the wages of sin. That's all I have for today. Thanks again for listening. After Art's out. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'd be delighted to have you. Your support will help keep the content fresh and always evolving. Thanks again for your support. After Art's out.